Oh, welcome to the Atheist Roundtable. What's up, Oz?
What the fuck's going on, Pasta?
Ozzy, the kamikaze.
Kazi. They will never stop me.
Welcome to the Atheist Roundtable live show. Tonight we got a special guest, Eddie, in the house. What do we know about Eddie, Oz?
I know that Eddie doesn't. He doesn't like these fundamentalist Christians out here. So I'm interested to chop it up with him.
Well, hey, fundamentalist, period. He's saying that we got fundamentalists on the left, fundamentalists on the right,
That's
atheists, agnostics.
So basically, he's saying fuck them fundies.
He's saying he ain't down with it, bro. He's saying that, look, he's going to be that crusader that comes on. I shouldn't say crusader with the Christians, though, right? I shouldn't use that term. He's like the vigilante of Christianity. You know, if you're fucking up, he's going to come in and let you know. But he's also going to let the atheists know as well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but so far I like his style, and I'm looking forward to chop it up and see what the differences we can find, and see if we can challenge some of the position there.
I like his beard. You talking about his style? Have you seen that beard?
Yeah, I got to respect the beard game. The beard game's strong.
What I want to know, though, does he treat that beard? Does he use oils? Does he use conditioners? Is he using some kind of product? You know, just Jeff might be able to tell us, because he's a hair expert. Other than the troll, the weasel-faced troll that he is a follically gifted man. If there is a god, Jeff is the god of hair.
Yeah, and I know Jeff probably wishes he could grow a beard.
That's true. He's got a great head of hair, but he can't grow it on his face, can he?
No, not at all.
It looks difficult for him.
Yeah, it's like little pubes poking out.
It's unfortunate, to be fair. Do you think he's going to be pissed off when he sees Eddie's beautiful facial structuring of face pubes?
Yeah, he probably won't want to come back on the screen tonight after he sees that. He'll be like, fuck this shit.
Speaking of face pubes, we got Ben G in the house tonight as well, I've heard, in the Atheist Green Room.
Ooh.
Anyway, dude, I don't want to push it, but you want to get this show started?
Man, let's get this shit started.
At the Atheist Roundtable. I feel creepy when I do that. I want to... At the Atheist Round Table. What? That's right. What's up, Eddie? How you doing, man?
Pretty good. How about you?
Hey, good, man. Hey, look. First of all, thanks for coming on the Atheist Roundtable. Short notice. I think we just met, like, what, a week ago?
Yeah, something like that.
Christian mingle, just chilling, and next thing you know, slipped into my DMs. We're hanging out, you know, we're sipping champagne, and you're like, dude, I like what you do, and I'm like, I like what you do. Can we be friends? And you're like, hell yeah, man. Well, dude, look, we like to start off the show with tough, difficult questions. Okay, I'm gonna dive straight into it. Can I do a deep dive? Is it okay?
Go for it.
What's your favorite ice cream, man?
Oh, man. All of them?
Kind of a little bit of everything. Chocolate.
Yeah.
I'm a chocolate guy. I'll just lay it out there.
Chocolate guy too. Yeah, I like the chocolate.
I've always been a chocolatey guy. You can throw peanut butter in there if you want.
No, man, not an ice cream. Come on.
Yeah, I'm excited about peanut butter and chocolate, but if it comes down to it, though, I'm gonna go chocolate syrup, chocolate chips, and zero dogma. I don't want any dogma in my ice cream, man. And I know you were chatting with me backstage. You don't like dogma either. So later on in the show, you're going to be chatting with Oz, Just Jeff, Ben G, and I think that's all we got. That's. I mean, we're a couple of men down tonight. COVID got the best of Murder Shed Steve. We haven't seen him in weeks.
You brought the heavy hitters, huh?
We got the heavy hitters, the hard ballers. Yeah, the shot callers. But what I'm going to ask is, where did you start off, man? So, like, where's your stomping grounds? You a church goer? What's up?
No, I don't do the church thing. I don't like the corporate worship. I don't do all that. I came from the hood in Memphis and kind of, little gangster. But now I'm a family guy. Got a bunch of girls. That's how I know God's got a sense of humor.
Yeah, man. How many girls you got?
3.
Man, you know, I was listening to your TikToks and I do hear the background noise. I'm like, this guy's got a lot going on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm like, he sounds like he's got like a daddy daycare thing going on.
That's probably just one that you hear. No, yeah, we got a lot of people around here. We take care of our couple of our parents too, so it's a full house.
That's awesome. Well, that's a good thing. Well, you'll feel better about yourself shortly because Oz has about 25 kids, and
yeah,
he's got a lot of children.
How does he have time to do the show?
That. Not only does he have time to do the show, you never hear his kids, and I'm like, I don't know, man. It's well, the jury's still out. You know, DNA and all that stuff. It's pending. It's a pending case. But dude,
he's paying that child support anyway, so
yeah. You wonder why he's got such a nice camera and audio equipment. You're like, where's all this stuff coming from? Look, so Christianity is your bag, right?
Yep.
Okay. What is your views on atheism up front?
I don't really have any views on atheism. You know, it's not monolithic. There's so many ideologies, you know, backgrounds and things. But one thing I have noticed is most that I've run across have come from, you know, fundamentalist churches or that doctrine or something like that. And, you know, kind of explains the anger that they have when they finally, you know, switch over, because those type of parents and stuff, you know, like to shun people and BS like that. So it don't matter how angry they are, because, you know, I was real close to that myself, and, you know, I know how it feels, kind of. I hadn't had to, you know, make that step, tell my family or anything like that. But, you know, I hurt for anybody that the church has hurt, or anybody in the name of Christ, and just makes me angry.
Sure. I've noticed that about your persona on the TikTok app. It's almost though you're kind of in the middle as far as who you stand up for, which I think is commendable, by the way. You do go after folks on the Christian end or theist end if they're being bullies, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. And
you also, you know, stick it to the atheists who are being in the same, you know, running in the same vein.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, that's commendable, because at the end of the day, you and I could believe in different things, but if we're fighting from a similar perspective and fighting for a similar cause,
absolutely,
then we can see eye to eye on that, you know?
Yeah.
Now I'm about to bring Oz in here, and you guys can chop it up, as he calls it chopping it up. He also calls me a cradle atheist, whatever the hell that means. He's got some funny terminologies, Oz, but have you been back and forth with Oz on TikTok?
No, I hadn't engaged with him too much. It's been all fun stuff. So
sure, Oz is a good dude. Benji is a good guy. It's that atheist troll, man. It's that weasel face troll. You gotta yeah. Man, I can't work that guy out. I just can't.
You know, I actually like Jeff. I think he's a little bit funny.
He is funny, but it's the whole Jekyll and Hyde thing. There's Jeff, and then there's the atheist troll.
Yeah.
He literally sends me images. He'll text message me pictures of himself butt naked in a chicken suit, and with holding up a picture of Christopher Hitchens. And I don't know what to do with it. Honestly, I don't know what to do with it. Hey, but first of all, again, thanks for joining us. I'm going to switch over to us. And a big shout out to everybody in the chat, in the live chat. We've got a lot of folks. IQ in the house. Guys, watch out. IQ's in the chat. Mind your manners. And if Pastor John is in the chat, you're good. You can be rude, John. You can do what you want to do.
I like John.
Pastor John's a good guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we love Pastor John here at the Atheist Round.
He may not like me after this show, but I like him.
Well, dude, hang tight. I'm going to bring Ozzy in. And again, thank you, my man. Well, maybe we'll split some chocolate ice cream backstage later, man.
Sounds good to me.
Eddie, what's up, man?
What's up?
How you feeling?
Man, I'm ready to go.
Me too. Me too. So first of all, thanks for coming on, and pleasure to meet you. I say face to face, but via the interwebs. Good to meet you, man. Glad you're here.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
No, we've been looking forward to it, and like Pasta said, the one thing that I've appreciated so far, just watching some of your TikTok content, and even one of the posts I had on the other day, you came in, and it was one of those things where you came in just raw dog on the Christians, and I literally just took my hands off the phone. I was like, I'm just gonna let my man handle it. I'm not even gonna say a word, and I didn't. The rest of the post, I didn't even say anything. So I will say up front, I appreciate your position there and how you come at it. I do appreciate that. I will say, listening to some of your story, I was really excited, I guess, to hear a lot of the similarities that you and I share as far as how we grew up, some of the things we've experienced, seen, been through. Obviously, we're now on opposite sides of the track when it comes to a God and religion, but we do hold a lot of similarities. One of the things just we go through kind of briefly here before we start talking about, God claims, religion, atheism, that kind of thing. You share a little bit about how you grew up and what that looked like. Briefly, will you share that here for our viewers?
Yeah, definitely. Grew up with single mom, men in and out, and poor part of Memphis. And we, pretty much went to a school you had to fight all the time. And it, you learn a lot of things. It takes you a lot of years to unlearn. Dropped out of high school, got my GED, went and learned AC work, HVAC. And when I started working at the company and started seeing, the men there and how men are supposed to act, they kind of started to change my perspective and kind of move away from all the nonsense.
Got it. Yeah. And whereas differ, or our stories differ, is I grew up in church, and it was at about 13 or 14 that I kind of got drew to the streets, as you said, the streets, selling drugs and doing all the other stupid, crazy shit that, that I got involved in. And then eventually got back into church, it went from there. But the one thing that I did hear when you were speaking with J. Mike and Cease to Know the other day, that I actually smiled, and I listened to it while I was in my car, and I was shaking my head in agreement with you. You said, that you hate bullies, and you don't do bullies. And my even in high school, because I'm a high school dropout as well, and until I dropped out, my thing was always, I will bully the bullies. Like you don't get the bully for free. So when you said that, I was like, okay, if on any topic, Eddie and I can agree on that, you're not going to come around me or the people that I love and care about, or even if I just met them, but you're bullying them, I'm going to come at you. So right. I do appreciate that about you. Yeah,
definitely, man. I can't stand it, whether it's with words or, on the internet or in person. It's just something about, because I know it's something inside of them.
Right.
They're doing it to make themselves feel better. And it's always somebody they know they don't have to worry about. And that's what it just makes me mad.
No, I hear you, because it's and I think this is what you're saying as well. It's usually those people, I think I know damn well you wouldn't say that to my face right now. I know you wouldn't. So if there's anything that I pulled from that you and I'd agree on it, I know it'd be that. Now Pasta and I, leading up to the show, the intro there, we talked about the fundamentalism of Christianity and even atheists that deconvert, that still carry some of that, I guess, baggage with them. Tell me a little bit about that, so I have a little better understanding when you say, when you talk about that. What exactly do you mean by that?
What happens is, what I've noticed, I've got quite a few atheist friends, and I've been around the game for quite a while. When they finally make that step, they never break the psychology of how they were taught to approach Scripture, how they were taught to carry themselves in life, this real legalistic approach. So when they first move over, they still had this this psychology that they had, it takes a while. I'm a former fundamentalist. And I know, exactly how hard it is to break that line of thinking. And, and understandably so, they're real angry because they're usually hurt. A lot of them, the family shuns them, or, the public hears atheist and, act like they got a disease or something like that. So it just fuels, and it's only natural. They're going to, kind of rebuff and lash out. It's almost like when they first finally make that decision, they go through the, the pain and everything of telling their family and all this. They go through this anti-theist phase, and their whole mission is to get back at them. But the problem is they haven't, released their mind of this kind of just stuck thinking. It's everything is so just narrow focused, and it takes a while. I mean, with the atheist friends that I have, they've been atheists a long time, and they'll tell you, they'll just cut the phases out. It's just like Christians, when they first get saved and everything changes, when they just start going through, and then eventually you get older and you're like, yeah, it's not as easy as it used to be. You go through down times and up times. So it's just something that takes a look. That's where I'm actually starting to dig now, is the psychology of beliefs.
Psychology.
Right. Yeah, because it amazes me that you can have two people look at the exact same thing, and one thinks it's convincing and the other one doesn't. And it's like, how could so many people be, so opposite? So I'm really interested in that part of it.
I think, well, the ones that are, I think, honestly seeking truth are perplexed by that. That there can be, this wide gap, between belief and disbelief. So, and for the record, I agree with you, because I was that guy coming out of, the evangelical Pentecostal movement. I went through my angry atheist phase. And when I first got started and I met Pastor and the rest of the guys, my TikTok and YouTube screen name was the atheist asshole. Like, I took pride in being that because of the way I was treated or not treated. You get hurt. I mean, something you trust and you learn a certain way for so long. And then when, they bring in all these false dichotomies between science and scripture and all these things, and you have this struggle. That's what tore my whole system down. I'm a science guy. I love science. And I'm like, wait a minute, kind of confused. And I was challenged. And the guy had said to me, he said, I just want you to think about one thing. Let's just say, for example, evolution is real. Yeah, I used to be a young earth creationist and actually fought for it with alternative science. That's how, yeah, I know. So he asked me, if evolution is real, does that change who Jesus is or what he did? And I got to thinking about it, and I was like, no, I guess it really doesn't. He says, is it going to affect your interpretation or approach to scripture, or is it going to affect Jesus? And the more I thought about it, the more I started to realize, there's a lot of hardline stances taken that doesn't have to be taken, but that's part of the whole. I used to hate it when I went to Southern Baptist when I was younger, and people would say, oh, it's indoctrination. It's doctrine. No, get out of here. It's not indoctrination. And now I see it is. Absolutely.
But it's not intentional. It's the legalistic approach that's there creates this bond that's hard to break, and my whole world fell apart. I mean, it was my whole belief system just crumbled.
Right.
And I doubted everything, which is what sent me on the journey to where I'm at now.
All right. Well, thank you for teeing up the perfect segue. I couldn't have did that better myself. So going through that, and I know just me doing my homework and everything. I think it was on J. Mike and Cistino's show, Axiom on Trial. If you guys don't know who they are, go check them out. But on there, you said that for a short term that you even classified or began to classify yourself as agnostic. Yeah. And you went through that phase. So obviously today you are a theist. You're a Christian now. You're very willing to say I'm not your average Christian.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, and I actually I can get in your corner on that at least a little bit. But that being said, what took you from that world crumbling, you know, and you realizing what indoctrination is and what it does to somebody? How did you go from there to agnostic to now being not just a believer, but an outspoken believer that's calling fucking everybody out?
Yeah. Well, also, you know, so the people who don't know who I am or this, that, or the other, because I know there are going to be a lot of pissed off Christians. Every time I approach another brother or sister, if you'll notice, every comment that I put was not a bad comment. I was gentle with the first comment. Then they start arguing. I get more aggressive and more aggressive because they're only there for pride and arrogance. That's it. That's the only reason they're there.
And if I can say, for that way we're all being honest here. When Eddie jumped on a post or two of mine, his first comments or questions, I guess, were, is this what Jesus would be doing? Or is this how Jesus would be acting? So I can, you know, and I have evidence of it. I can back him up on that it was never ugly or anything like that. So that is appreciated. But I still want to know, Eddie, how did we go from the walls crumbling down on indoctrination and borderline, if not agnostic, to now an outspoken Christian?
Well, when the whole thing come down, you know, I started, you know, is there a God? Is there really a God? And for some reason, I just always thought there was a God. You know, it was just something that just stayed in my head all the time. I couldn't not believe in God. You know what I'm saying? I doubted a lot for a while. But then, you know, you go through this phase of wanting to, you know, recomfort yourself with the beliefs that you have. So I started looking, you know, at different denominations and other religions and things like this. You know, it's like, well, I need to know who God is if I'm, you know, going to believe in God. And then I'd noticed after a while of, you know, doing some study and things that I was actually looking for answers that I wanted to find, you know, and I was like, wait a minute, how do I know Jesus is real? Because somebody told me, you know, because I really didn't know anything about him being real. And so I went through the other religions and I'm like, yeah, no, that don't make any sense. This don't make any sense, you know? And then I got to Jesus and started looking at, you know, whether there was really any evidence of him even being around, you know, and I found that there was a lot of evidence for the historicity of Jesus. And I was always just mesmerized by his teachings, you know, his words. He was such a loving person, you know, and he was a radical, you know, the things that he said were just, I mean, he'd be called far left liberal now because he was that radical. And I was just always mesmerized by it. So the more I started to read about it, because I'm a skeptic by nature, you know, I had a hard time with the miracles and resurrection and all these different things. I'm just like, you know, how can that happen? You know, that's not stuff we see, you know? And I guess I just kind of took it for granted that, you know, I guess they could happen, you know, but I couldn't get away from the history that was there. And there's actually, unfortunately, you guys aren't exposed to it, but there's a very intellectual side of Christianity and has a long history of some great thinkers. And the more that I started to read and realize that, you know, hey, because I was one of those, a lot of churches now are like anti, you know, intellect. It's this faith. And, you know, that's a cop out. That's, you know, so I got to know, you know, I need answers. And the more that I searched and I was trying to not grab on to, you know, just any God or anything like this, but I was just captivated. And, you know, with the history, like I said, with the history that was there, with his teachings, with the intellectual history that went along with it. And I was just fully convinced. I mean, I'm one of those people that's, you know, I accept God because I believe there's good evidence for God. And if there is a God, the best evidence for that God, in my opinion, is Jesus. And so it's kind of like a two-part thing, because, you know, you hear Christians talk about, not feeling close to God and things like that. I haven't had a feeling probably 10 years, because it's not about feelings. It's about what you do, how you treat people and things like that. I mean, you can have experiences here and there, but a lot of Christians sit around waiting on a feeling, and that's
So
not
Eddie,
what it is.
so Eddie, and I'm glad that you point that out, because there are a lot of experience based claims. So if we're going to take that out, according to what you're saying, then what I'm hearing a lot about is then reading the Bible, and then what Bible scholars or philosophers have to say about the word. So what I want to know. Well, first, just yes or no, just so the viewers and myself right now are all on the same page. You are you believe in the Bible, the Christian God, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So what was it? If it wasn't an experience, and you already talked about the scripture and the word, then what is it that convinces you that God exists? Why are you convinced? Because even the Bible says that I am persuaded, I am convinced. What is it that has persuaded you or convinced you that this God exists?
It's really complex, but I am convinced by, like I said, the historicity of Jesus. I was mesmerized by, his teachings, this, that, and the other. I mean, I have had what I would call a religious experience, nothing like what a lot of people say, but just times of overwhelm or comfort and stuff like that. If I didn't believe in God, I'd probably just think, because you can get feelings like that from meditation. It's
absolutely.
So it could be just deep meditation, but I believe it was, some type of experience. And I do have, sometimes I have more confidence in God being a Jesus, being real than the evidence that you would think I would have that confidence for. You know what I'm saying? I'm one of those people that I think that if it's more plausible, then a rational person should take the more plausible side. So it doesn't mean that, I'm convinced 99%. If it's 51%, 49%, the more rational position is the 51%, in my opinion. So, I mean, I'm pretty confident in the evidence, but there
okay.
is.
And you broke out the scale there, Eddie. So where do you 1 to 100? Where do you fall on that scale then, since you broke it up?
I don't really put it into numbers. You
brought it up. That's why I'm asking.
No, well, yeah, well, I was making an example about plausibility, but I would be probably, I don't know, somewhere around 75.
Okay. All right. Okay. No, and thank you for for the honesty and sharing that. And for me, Eddie, being somebody that comes from a very deeply held belief, if there was something at this point where, let's say, I converted back, and somebody said, Austin, what is it that convinced you or convinces you that God is real? With all due respect, and you're not the only one that's given me that answer. Well, it's complex or it's long or something. It wouldn't take me but 5 seconds to say this is what did it, because that God is that big and that great. And that's where I struggle with that when I ask that question, is if it's that big of a part of your life that you've decided to give your life to chase and run after this God and this creator, that it shouldn't be that complex. It should be, this is what it is. So, and maybe that will help you, a little better. So I'll ask you again, is there that thing that convinces you that it's like, this is it, this is what I hold in my hand every day?
I wouldn't say there's a thing. No, I'd say it's, it's the scope of things. It's what I meant by it's complex is, talking about, like the conviction of, the Holy Spirit, things like that. When people normally hear that, they're like, oh, this, that, and the other. However, it's very biblical and it's actually defendable. So with that, the confirmation that I have, there's time, like I said, I haven't felt God near me in 10 years if that's what we're supposed to feel. But I rely on the comfort and the evidence and the confidence that I have. I mean, I can't tell you I have the confidence, so maybe it's a gift of faith. I don't know what it is, so it's just not one thing that sent me over the edge.
Okay, so then, in regards to, and I'll refer back to your and I experience ripping and running the streets, and I know you'll know this saying as soon as it comes out of my mouth. We used to say it all the time: "Real knows real," right?
Yep.
And the one thing that I can say is once I put the Jesus juice down, is what I call it, and I walked away from the indoctrination, the intoxication that is religion and Christianity. I found out what once convinced me is no longer convincing. Because it was based, a lot of it was circular within the Bible. And then, and I was privy to some of the things you're talking about, the external writings of the word. But when I looked at it, it was, well, they had confirmation bias, which then now I have confirmation bias, because I'm looking for things to prove what I want to prove, which you alluded to earlier. So that's what I was like to go back to. And then my last question for you, Eddie, before we move along, is there any? Can you think of anything? You said it's 75%. I appreciate your honesty there on that scale. Is there anything that you can think of right now that would shake that rating? Or let's say it even take it down to a 65. Is there anything that would rattle that belief?
Oh, anybody. I mean, I'm the kind of person that, if you have counter evidence, then you need to start doing some work on, what you actually believe and why. So, yeah, I mean, if there was, counter evidence to, I guess, God, I think honestly, if I wasn't a Christian, I would still probably be a deist, because I'm fully convinced by the arguments for God. There's just too much there. So, to me, Jesus, the Christian God, is just the most convincing to me as far as there being a God.
Perfect. Well, Eddie, thank you for chopping up with me, man. I'll talk to you here again in a few minutes. All right, man.
All right, bud.
Hey, what's up, Eddie?
What's up?
Hey, hello to everybody in the chat. I'm glad that you guys are so active down in there. Remember that super chats and things are on. Make sure that you drop some of those in there so we can bring those up later. Eddie, how are you, man?
I'm doing fantastic. And I want to say real quick, I've watched a lot of y'all's. I love you guys' stuff, and I think you do a fantastic job.
Oh man, thank you so much. I know. I think I was getting some wind earlier that like you had some like opinions about like street epistemology, which is like one of my favorite kind of topics. I was going to ask you a little bit about like your opinion on that method, or like what do you think it is, and kind of go from there.
Well, the way that you do it, I'm okay with. It's fine. But I actually went round and round with Peter, who developed it, and the flaws were, exposed then, not by me, but others. And he refused to fix them. And it was by fellow atheists. So he was kind of, I don't know if he was removed from our group or what happened, but anyway, he was so hell bent on, making non-believers that he just didn't care. And he kept pushing it out and pushing it out. So, I mean, I love the fact that people get questioned. People shouldn't walk around just believing things, because somebody told them. So that's what I like about it. The only thing I don't like about it is that it's self-refuting. And it's also, it only focuses on one type of evidence, which isn't the way that we actually live our lives. See, the self-refuting part of it is when you are asking people about, the confidence of their beliefs and then the evidence that they have for those beliefs, and they lower their confidence because they don't have, this particular type of evidence, you are confident in the statement that you need evidence without putting it through your method. So you already have the belief and you're confident in that belief that you need evidence. And that's what was pointed out, to Peter. It's like, you can fix this. You just have to change it up a little bit. Not only that, it denies properly basic beliefs. You automatically form the belief that I'm here talking with you, and you're confident that I'm here talking with you. And it was done without the method. So that's my issues with it. It only focuses on one type of evidence. But like I said, the way you guys do it, it's fantastic. But that's not the way Peter intended it, and I don't like the way he does it. So
well, I appreciate you giving us such high, I guess, a rating, at least at the way that we do it. I really do think that like street epistemology has a lot of value for like every claim. And I don't think that like anything that we can say that is true or isn't true, anytime you state something as a fact, I think that street epistemology could be used to discover why a person believes something. So I think one of the questions that comes to mind when I was listening to your critique was maybe you could kind of explain what street epistemology is, and then we can have a conversation maybe where I agree or disagree.
Yeah. When, you like, you ask somebody, how confident they are in a belief, and, how they came to that belief, and, what evidence they have to be that confident in the belief.
Ooh, okay.
And,
see, I would even stop there. I don't think I ask for evidence typically.
Well, you may not have. I'm talking about street epistemology in general. Originally, that's how it was designed by Peter. So
I think from my understanding, it's more about, are you using evidence to come to a belief? That might be a question that I might ask. And if not, what are you basing it on?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And so as a street epistemologist, I'm not really planting the seed that evidence is necessary. I would just inquire, if you're not using evidence, what are you using?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, it also gets into the nature of evidence, where it usually goes anyway. So, but I think it puts, I'm not real familiar with, how your method is all the time. I've caught, clips of it, and what I saw, I really liked it. I just, from my experience with street epistemology, for a few years, it's in the hands of the wrong people. It's literally there just to create unbelievers,
Yeah, it's frustrating because there's like, in my mind, I have this idea of like a pure street epistemology, which would be going around asking people, what do you believe and why do you believe it? Staying neutral in all of those interactions.
I love that.
I have to fight the temptation often as a person who is an atheist. I do have to fight that temptation. Sometimes I'm drawn into debate. Sometimes I'm like, man, I know that this isn't right. And I want to fight it.
Yeah.
But I feel like I identify with street epistemology enough where I almost always say, look, I'm not practicing SE anymore. I'm essentially trying to provide counter evidence and things like that.
Yeah.
But do you have anything to add about that?
No. I mean, like I said, I have no problem with, too many people walk around today with beliefs that they really just have no reason having. We got, people need to do their own critical thinking and their own research and just stop believing what they're told. So I mean, I'm with you all the way on it's, my sentiments are about street epistemology overall. I mean, I was exposed to it years ago, and it was pretty vile. It was, I mean, like I said, I went round and round with Peter. I know exactly why he developed it.
Mhm.
But so as soon as I heard it here, I was like, oh God, no. But then I don't remember. I think it was Josh, the philosophic plumber. He's like, oh, have you heard Ben G? You got to listen to Ben G. And I was like, all right, I'll check them out. And I watched a couple of clips. I was like, that's pretty cool. You know, that's because the way you do it. You're not there to make unbelievers. You're there to make people question why they're so comfortable in their belief. Which I don't have a problem with that.
And you know what? Nothing would make me happier, Eddie, than if you walked out of this conversation and started using street epistemology and even labeled it street epistemology, because there's nothing that says that street epistemology should be purely used for theistic claims.
Yeah.
Or things that you disagree with. Because I might agree with someone and have the same conclusion and think that maybe I disagree with the pathway that they got to that belief.
Right.
To me, that's what like epistemology is.
Yeah.
So nothing would make me happier than for you to like come out of this conversation going on to like streetepistemology.com saying like, that sounded really interesting. And while it was originally created by Boghossian to create more atheists, I do think one way or another, people being independently reflective about their beliefs is a positive thing. And so if you came out of this, and it sounds like you already do in a way, I think like street epistemology tools and resources that are out there can make you even more effective at some of the things that you already agree with and some of the things you'd like to do.
Yeah. And I just want to clarify something. I'm not, my issue with Peter is not because he wants to make atheists, because that's a rebuff to the evangelist, which makes me as agitated as he does, as he is. So, I mean, it's all right with that. My issue is my background is philosophy. I've been in philosophy for a long time at some of the highest levels. Not that I deserve to be there, just, there's a lot of people that I'm around. And when, in philosophy, when somebody points a flaw of something, then you go rework it and come back. You don't say, no, I'm gonna stick with it. No, I'm gonna stick with it. So that was kind of it was more of a respect thing. It wasn't about him making atheists as much as him unwilling to, move his argument a little bit or try to fix it a little bit. So, okay.
Do you mind, Eddie, if we try to like, examine the reasons that you believe like a God exists at this time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think you said that you were 75% confident. Was that Christianity was true, or was that God exists?
I'd say more that Christianity is true, probably 85 that God exists.
If your confidence that God exists was much lower, would you be less confident that Christianity was true?
Oh yeah.
Okay. What percentage would you have to be on that like God exists in order for Christianity to like lower to less than 50%, let's say? And feel free to adjust it. I'm interested in kind of how those scales work together.
Yeah, it's like I said, if I wasn't convinced with Christianity, I would still be a deist, because I just truly, I've just always just had the belief that God was real. It's not something that I can explain. I just, I only had doubt for a little bit of time, and I know a lot of people are going to say, well, that's confirmation bias. That's confirmation bias. But that's not what it is. It's because in the Bible, it talks about, John Calvin talks about the sense of the divine. If the sense of the divine is real, and someone has the feeling of sense of the divine with a properly functioning mind, and their aim is towards truth, then they're warranted in having that belief until a defeater is presented, until somebody can bring counter evidence to it. It's kind of like every day we form, you look out the window, you see a squirrel by the tree, you automatically form the belief that there's a squirrel by the tree. Mm-hmm. When you walk out there and you find out it's just a pile of leaves, now you have to abandon that belief because you see that it's a pile of trees. So it's kind of the same thing. If the sense of divine is true, like Calvin talked about, and we can, have a sense of divine, we just have a sense that God is real, then it's a warranted belief, as long as there's not, defeaters presented for it. So, and that's kind of how, I don't know if you're familiar with Alvin Plantinga, but
yeah, I think I've had that name thrown out a few times.
yeah, he is an absolutely brilliant philosopher. He's a professor, I think, at Notre Dame. And he, like he said, he walking out and just seeing a sunset, he just was in awe and just always had the feeling there was a God. He never just came to the belief that there was a God. So if the sense of divine is real, then he's warranted in that belief, unless somebody can bring counter evidence that the sense of divine's not real or God's not real. So that's not justified. That's warranted. You still have an epistemic duty to justify, whether there's a God. You can't just say, I feel like God's real, and just stop there. That's just laziness. You have to go and pursue that to, find something to corroborate the belief. So now that you have justification.
Okay. I'm wondering, are you saying that like the sense of divine is similar to like sensing that squirrels are out behind your house? Is that what you were saying when you said like you just automatically?
Well, I'm likening it to what's called a properly basic belief. So when you look out the window and see the squirrel, you immediately form the belief there's a squirrel there. If the sense of divine is real, it's like Plantinga said, and I'm along the lines with him. There's never a time I remember ever choosing to believe in God. I just always had this feeling that God was real, and when you looking at the sunsets and you're in awe, and you're just, first thing that comes to mind is to thank God or, praise God or something like that. So what I'm saying is it can be a properly basic belief, like you looking out and seeing something, then you form the basic belief that it's there. No argument made you come to that belief. No scientific method made you come to that belief. You just automatically formed the belief.
So are you saying that you, in a similar way, looked out and sensed that God exists in the same way that I could look out and see that a squirrel was climbing up a tree in my backyard?
Not through your eyes perception. No.
Okay. So
well, that's what I'm saying. If God is real and the sense of divine is real, then it's a sense that it's a confidence and sense that God is real. You have a confidence and sense that God is real. That's what the sense of divine is. He called it the sensus divinitatis.
If you hadn't heard of Plantinga, would your idea of God, like, did you believe in God before you heard of Plantinga's?
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. I've always just believed, that there was some higher power. I've always believed that there was something out there. It's not a belief I ever chose to come to, and it's, like I said, I doubted when my whole, belief structure just fell down. I doubted, and but I still just couldn't get away from the thought of, something bigger.
Could a person just look around and have the feeling that gods just absolutely do not exist and feel just as justified in not believing in gods based on that feeling?
Yeah.
Until a defeater comes around?
Yeah, absolutely. You can't. No, well, that wouldn't be a defeater for the one who's holding the belief. No, for you, if you don't feel like there's a God, then you absolutely are warranted in that belief.
Should that be person just as warranted in the belief that gods don't exist? I'm taking I'm not saying that I am that. I'm just trying to create, it's a contradictory belief. I believe, to say that I'm walking around, or a person is walking around saying, I just feel like gods don't exist, and that's properly basic to me.
Well, I mean,
what's the difference between those views?
If you want to call it a belief, that if you're making a positive proposition that you believe there is no God, yeah, you're warranted in it. Why not?
Is that person just as warranted as you are?
Yes.
How does that make you feel? Or like, what do you think about that a person could be 75% or 85% confident that gods don't exist for the same reason that you are 85% that God does exist?
I mean, I don't see there's no issue there. I mean, why not? That's what a properly basic belief is. I mean, if you don't have any defeaters and your brain is working right and you're aimed towards truth, and if you don't have a defeater for the belief you have, you're warranted in it. Not justified, you're warranted. It's a lot lighter. You're not all the way at knowledge yet. You're warranted in having that belief, and so unless somebody comes up with overwhelming evidence, you should abandon your belief and no longer hold that belief. So it's just about being warranted. It's not about being justified. It's not about being having knowledge. And I hate even using words like justified knowledge, because it's I mean, there's people spend their entire careers on different ideas of knowledge and justification, but that's why he uses the weaker claim, warranted.
Could you discover anything like would any new evidence lower your confidence that God exists? Is there anything you could discover, anything new you could discover that would lower your confidence that God exists?
Well, I struggle a whole lot with the problem of evil, and that's part of what lowers the confidence already. That's a huge thing with me. It's to see all the suffering and pain in the world, it just blows my mind.
Are you saying that if evil didn't exist in the world, if everybody got along great and natural disasters didn't happen, or what have you, if none of those occurred, would your confidence that God exists, like barring any other evidence or any other reason, would your confidence actually go up?
That's a good question. It's not one I really thought about. Maybe. It's
how much does the problem of evil affect your confidence that God exists?
It's more about being perplexed about how these things can happen. See, you've got the logical problem of evil, and then you got the evidential problem of evil. The logical problem of evil is not a problem. There is no contradiction there. The evidential problem boils down to an emotional issue, but it's a strong emotional issue. It's not, I'm not blowing it off as it's just emotions. It's like I said, it's one I've struggled with myself. It's hard for me to wrap my head around an all good God when we have so much pain and suffering. Sure. I've been through a lot of my life, and there's lots of times I'm like, how is this possible?
I'm right with you. Jeff, welcome to the stream.
Eddie, I got a suspicion about you.
Uh-oh.
Are you a Memphis basketball fan?
Oh my God, yes.
What makes you a Memphis basketball fan?
Because I was born and raised in Memphis.
Is that what led you to be a Memphis basketball fan?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So one, thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you.
I had just a few questions for you to kind of build on.
Okay.
Ben, so I heard earlier you said that the story of Jesus is not affected by evolution.
Right. Absolutely.
So do you think that it's possible that the story of Jesus is also not affected by his divinity? As in, would his teachings still be good teachings even if he wasn't divine?
I'd be a good philosopher, but that's it.
But would that change the impact of his teachings to you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
and then the reason I asked you the question about the Memphis basketball team was because remember earlier we asked, what was the most convincing argument for why you're a Christian? And it's complicated. It took you a second to answer that question, but it didn't take you very much time to answer why you're a Memphis basketball fan. It's instant because So I think that shows some complexity in the levels of what you're having to do to justify the belief in that. And I don't know if Jesus's teachings would be any lesser if he was divine. I think that they'd be just the same, in that message of, love one another or whatever. also there's a few stories in there that are a little contradictory to that point. So,
Like?
huh?
Like,
The paying taxes, the anger, the killing pigs, killing trees because they wouldn't make fruit, things like that are a little odd. There's some oddities in there. Not saying that Jesus's story isn't, on the whole, the message that you're getting of
you can look at the Bible and take it just about any way you want.
don't you think that's a problem?
No, I don't. I think if you approach it properly, you won't even come out to the same conclusion you do. If
So
you
how
know,
do I approach it properly?
you find out who wrote the book, the genre of the book, what those genres were, how they were taught, who they were talking to, what they were talking about, the message they were trying to get across. That's why we have fundamentalists now, because they take a literal reading of scripture and we end up with all these different interpretations.
Do you think that it would be wise to put those teachings, the things that you learned outside of the Bible, in the Bible, so that we would all have a better understanding?
I'm not. What could you say that again?
So, like, if you're telling me that you have to go to an exterior reference in order to get the best understanding of the interpretation of the Bible, do you think that those exterior references that you're talking about should be included in the Bible so that we get a better understanding?
It's a leap in logic. You're going to have to justify that leap. I don't know why you can't go learn about the culture before you interpret it.
Well, what about people that lived like 1,000 years ago that didn't have access to that information? They would have had an incorrect understanding of the Bible.
You got support for that?
Well, I'm saying if they didn't have access to the tools in which you said, you need, then they wouldn't have, they didn't have access to the internet. They didn't have access to they were only given the Bible itself. And then in many cases, they were just told what it meant.
Yeah. Well,
because I've read the Bible by myself. I can read verses by myself.
Well, here's the thing. You're making claims, and I have no reason to accept your claims unless you got support for them.
What claim?
That people back then were just given a Bible or told this or told that. I'm not going to answer, assertions. If you got some evidence to back up the claims, then we can talk about it.
Do you think that people in previous generations have had incorrect interpretations of the Bible?
I don't know. It's possible. Yeah.
Do you think that if they had the access to the external references that you have, the who wrote it, that kind of stuff, that may alleviate their problems when it comes to their incorrect understanding of the Bible?
I don't know. We're talking about hypothetical people. I don't know where they're at, where they got their knowledge or any of that.
Well, they don't have people didn't have access to information that has only been around the last 100 years, 1,000 years ago.
What time are we talking about?
In previous generations, you could say people 500 years ago. So at the advent of the English translations of the Bible, that time frame, where you have a lot of different competing priorities when it comes to who put that stuff down.
Where are you going with it?
I'm not going anywhere. I'm just trying to discover what percentage the divinity of Jesus and the structure of the Bible with its external references has a bearing on your understanding of the Bible. So, like, if you didn't...
So hungry, I'm sure. Oh.
If you didn't have access to those external references, it would change your understanding of the Bible. So those external references seem to be very important to your understanding of the Bible as it is.
I don't see where the issue is.
Well, the issue is that those external references change. So 50 years from now, we may have a different external reference, or 100 years ago, they had different external references. So the understanding of the Bible can change wildly throughout generations based on what other people are saying about the interpretation of the Bible. I find that to be problematic.
Okay. I don't know what the problem is. The Catholic Church has had the same meaning of scripture for almost 2,000 years. So, I don't know where you're going with it. If you have a specific claim, we can talk about it. But
you could say homosexuality in the Bible.
Do what?
The Catholic Church has changed its position on homosexuality in the Bible several times in recent time.
Okay. Well, I'm not Catholic. And?
So that's what I'm saying. So the interpretation of that specific verse has changed. And if you went 200 years ago, it would have been different than 100 years ago. That'd be different from 50 years from today.
Let me cut you off. This is a fallacy. What you're doing?
Okay.
You're taking the possibility of things being changed or things being changed to attack the truth or veracity of it. And that doesn't follow logically.
It just seems to be that the truth of the Bible is what we make, and that your story, what you have,
that's a claim.
The Bible is the stuff that's impactful to you, that's true, that you think is a better way of living, you know, that's the right way of living, that the words of Jesus are helpful. And all I'm concerned with or thinking about is that the divinity of Jesus is not necessary for you to have that moral guidance. You know, you could have the same outlook without the divinity.
Why would I follow Jesus if he wasn't divine?
I mean, people follow all kinds of different people that aren't divine, you know, with good teachings because of the validity of what they said.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's a lot more to it. I don't just look at the book. I said I was mesmerized by his teachings.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you on your reasoning.
Yeah. That's not why, you know, I'm a follower. It's just because of his teachings. I mean, I'm convinced.
So the teachings aside from the divinity, because we both don't know if he was divine or not. I wouldn't want to get into like the whole resurrection thing, but I don't know that he rose from the dead. I don't know that he was a God, but that doesn't change his teachings. What's that?
Why don't you want to get into the resurrection thing?
Oh, no, I'm just saying that I can't know that he rose from the dead and was a God.
Why can't you?
I can't know that.
Why not?
I don't, I mean, unless you have some compelling evidence that would prove that to me, which I haven't ever heard a good argument for. But I don't think it changes the validity of his teachings.
Right. Well,
so it's unnecessary.
What's unnecessary?
The resurrection.
Why is it unnecessary?
Because the teachings still stand.
Okay.
They're not dependent upon the divinity.
Great philosophers throughout time with good teachings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And people live their lives by those.
I'm not a Christian because of his teachings.
Sure.
By itself.
Sure.
I'm convinced by the evidence.
Okay. So then what do you think is the most impactful evidence to you for the resurrection?
Explanatory scope.
I don't know what that means.
Well, we have about 6 facts that are non-controversial, and we have sources that have been confirmed time and time again through archaeology. We have internal evidence. Matter of fact, internal evidence is a lot.
What does that mean? I don't know what internal evidence means. Also, before, I don't want to cut you off, I'm going to give you a break because we do have questions coming up in a moment.
Okay.
So those of you guys in the comments, get your questions ready, and we're going to ask for your questions shortly that Eddie can answer. And we're going to take some questions from the audience shortly. So I just want to get that in there.
Okay. Well, the Gospels are trustworthy. They haven't been proven not to be trustworthy. They are early. They were written early. They were.
When do you think the Gospels were written?
Oh man, I'd have to get my notes out.
What do you think the earliest Gospel was? I think it was Mark.
I think around 50 AD. There's what's called oh god, I can't even think of the name of it. Accidental differences in the Gospels. There's the whole thing, you know, the apostles that he called to follow him came to believe while following him that he was the Messiah. Yet they had every predisposition to not believe he was the Messiah. As they followed him, something convinced them that he was the Messiah. The Old Testament Messiah was supposed to be a political figure to reign on the planet, you know, overthrow the government and reign on the planet. So they came to believe that he was the Messiah, and were even arguing with each other who's going to sit at the right hand. That's why Peter cut off the ear in the Garden of Gethsemane, because they didn't understand that Jesus was going to die. And Peter told him, not while I'm around, you're not going to die. So when Jesus told him, get thee behind me, Satan, because they didn't understand, even though he told them over and over again what was going to happen. That's why he said, how many times do I have to tell you? Because they all came to believe he was the Messiah from the Old Testament and was going to overthrow the Roman occupation of Jerusalem. So they're riding along, hey, we're going to get to rule with him, this, that, or the other, even though they had every predisposition not to. So something happened for them to believe that he was the Messiah. Well, when he goes and dies on the cross, they're all stunned because he wasn't supposed to die. He was supposed to overthrow Rome. They all went their own ways. The church was over. It was done with. There was no more evangelizing, because not all Jews believed in the resurrection, and the ones that did believe in the resurrection didn't believe it was at the end of time. So they had no idea in their head of any resurrection or anything. It was done and over with. So all of a sudden, we have these claims of Jesus being seen again and this renewed energy, and the church has spread, all around the Middle East and throughout the world since then. So when you start looking at, they had no reason to follow him. They had no reason to continue on with the church if something miraculous didn't happen. It makes no sense at all why these staunch Jews whose life was Judaism, that was, the temple was the city, that was everything that they had ever known, to totally turn their lives around to want to go spread this message. They weren't going to gain fame, money, everything that we normally go after to do, crazy things. You want to be rich, you want to be famous. And once Jesus was dead, that's what Thomas said when he appeared to him, I won't believe unless I touch the wounds, because they had no reason to think he was going to come back. None at all. They were all predisposed to not believing it. And to me, it just seemed, it just makes, too much sense when you put all that together. You can look at the Old Testament and read it from the beginning to the end, and you won't come with Jesus. You won't find Jesus in the Old Testament. That's why the Jews didn't believe him then. But you can go now after Jesus and look back and see all the typology that's there, the typology. So it's all, when you put the whole story together like that, and you don't have a, predisposition to miracles, resurrections, and things, of that nature, then it just seemed extremely convincing to me. Something.
So you remember when Ben came in and we were talking about epistemology, and you said that epistemology just assumes belief? Was that what it assumes? What was it? Assumed something?
Saying that.
Well, you said something. You had a problem with epistemology in that or at least you were pointing out a point that it could be wrong with the assumption of a belief to start with. I have to rewind. I may be misphrasing it.
Yeah,
but there was a problem with epistemology that you pointed out, and I can't remember what it was now.
Oh, street epistemology?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't pass its own test. It's self-refuting.
Right. So with the story about Jesus's followers being a convincing argument for you, how do you know that story is true?
It's called inference.
And what do you mean by that?
So you can infer whether it's true or not.
From what?
From the events that happened.
Well, isn't that circular?
No, that's not circular.
But you're saying that the story in the Bible is true because of the way it's written in the Bible?
No, that's not what I said.
Okay, well, I'm say it one more time because maybe I'm not getting
First of all, the Bible is just a collection.
Sure.
The Gospels are 4 separate sources of ancient documents. It's not one book like everybody looks at it. The historians look at all 4 Gospels as 4 separate sources. So,
yeah, but how do you know it's true? How do you know those events actually happened?
Why do I need to doubt it? What?
So then you're just presupposing it's correct.
No, I'm not presupposing anything.
Okay, so then how do you know it's
We
correct?
have documents that have been shown to be historically accurate.
What do you mean by historically accurate?
They have a lot of historical accuracies in them. We can look like Luke. Luke has tons of things that he wrote about that we've confirmed with archaeology.
But just because they wrote about places and those places existed, I mean that doesn't necessarily lead to the claim being true. Like for example, and I'm not making a joke about this, but many Spider-Man comics reference New York. That doesn't mean that Spider-Man is true just because it references New York.
Did Spider-Man change the world?
I don't know. I mean, if 1,000 years from now we had a story that said Spider-Man changed the world, I would be doubting the validity of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering how you know that these stories that the disciples were followers of Jesus and all this stuff happened, how you know that stuff is true. Because I don't know that it's true.
Well, that's fine. I mean, you can not come to the conclusion it's true. Do you not think we can make inferences to truth?
I think we can, but that doesn't include the supernatural in many cases. Like I don't believe that like the stories of Hercules are true, and we have the 12 labors of Hercules. We have lots of documentation about Hercules, yet you and I don't believe that Hercules is true.
Why not the supernatural?
Not necessarily, just I think I have a higher standard of evidence when it comes to the supernatural.
Why do you have a higher standard of evidence? That doesn't.
Do you think that I own a microwave?
Doesn't matter if I think you own a microwave. That doesn't prove your point. Why do you have a higher standard of evidence?
Well, let's do this thought experiment. It'll explain it. So do you think I own a microwave?
Sure, you own a microwave.
Do you think I own a car?
Sure, you own a car.
What if I told you I owned a private jet?
Why could I don't know you.
But would you doubt that? Would you need something from me to prove it?
No, I don't know you.
What if I told you I owned a spaceship?
Okay.
Would you want something for me to prove that?
This is a non sequitur. You're not it doesn't follow. This line of questioning doesn't follow.
Well, it does if we get through it.
No. I know where you're going with it.
Where am I going?
Outrageous stuff here. Why do you believe this and not that? It doesn't get away from your presupposing naturalism.
No. So what I'm saying, well, one, that's the only thing we've ever observed. So I'm not discounting supernatural, but if my car won't start in the morning, I don't assume that it's supernatural.
No, that's fine. You shouldn't either.
No, but the claim, if I claim I have a microwave, you would most likely take that on my word. If I told you I owned a car, well, most Americans own cars. You would assume that's true. If I told you I owned a private jet,
see it to believe it.
Not necessarily. If I told you I owned a private jet, most people would doubt that. They'd say, hey, why don't you show me some pictures of you flying the jet? Why don't you show me this or whatever? If I told you I had a spaceship, that would be a little bit different. I'd want a picture of myself and Elon Musk, or something showing that I own the spaceship. And if I told you that I had something that doesn't exist, like a spaceship that can travel at the speed of light and can go from here to Jupiter and back in half a second.
It still doesn't make the point you want it to make. Because
I'm not done.
We have historical facts. That's almost a consensus.
So what's the historical fact?
We have 6 facts. Well, there's actually more than that. But I'll use the 6 facts. You're getting an echo. Hold on. Is that better?
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna make me break out my notes, man.
I mean, notes are good. I'm just trying to figure out.
Yeah, I don't keep all this stuff in my head.
Let's get a 1 2 1 2. Guys, we good?
Do it again.
1 2.
Let's use deduction and find out who's the mystery echo.
It wasn't until somebody came in. I think it was.
Yeah, it's probably that Oz guy. Or was it that Ben guy? I don't know. One of those handsome guys.
Is there an echo now?
No, it definitely wasn't you, buddy.
Oh. Well, then I'm not wearing these.
Yeah, you take those off right now.
Okay.
All right, guys.
I should have known Jeff was going to make me break out my notes. Darn it.
That's good.
Yes.
You've broken out in Christian hives as well, by the way.
Oh, really? Nice.
Do we have any? Did we get some questions in there? Do we have some questions? Did people do some questions?
Yeah, we're going to get into Q&A in a moment. And first of all, thank you to all the folks that have dropped the super chats, Ian Davenport. I'm just going to go ahead and predetermine that Chico did, because I think he gives all his money to us. And Dragons in Genesis before he jumped off. I think he said his girlfriend was calling him. And again, thank you to Eddie for hanging out with us and chatting with us. And before we wrap up, we usually like to do a Q&A. So, folks, drop some questions in, and I'll pop them up and read them out.
Are we ready? You waiting on me?
No, I think we're waiting on questions or Oz to like.
Well, I
settle down.
wanted to wrap up that point I was making.
Okay, go ahead. I'll give you time.
Yeah. You familiar with Gary Habermas?
No.
Okay. He has what's called the 6 minimal facts.
Sorry, are you talking about Habermas? I want to, because I think I know what you're talking about. Habermas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oz might know.
Yeah, he has the 6 minimal facts. That are pretty much uncontested. Of course, there's always somebody that's going to contest, but Jesus died on the crucifixion. People had experience of him. The world was changed. It very early written about. James, his brother, came to believe, and Paul came to believe, even though being the stars. That's the almost universal accepted facts. Now, there's a whole lot more to that. So the explanatory scope is we can come up with, one theory for why he died on the cross, one theory for when the tomb was empty, and then other theories for the people that saw him afterwards. But once you start compounding them theories, the probability of them being actually what happened, because one, they're ad hoc, there's no evidence.
But you're assuming they're true.
Do I?
You're assuming that those things happened, that they're true. I'm not convinced that people saw Jesus after his death. I'm not convinced that those stories written about him are true.
What? Okay.
There's very little supporting evidence for me to believe in the scripture.
Oh, no, there's not. It's a consensus amongst
it was a consensus among people that the world was flat 2,000 years ago. I don't go off consensus.
Oh, so then I guess you don't believe in evolution then.
I don't necessarily believe that in all of evolution, but I do think that evolution is the best explanation for the variety of life on this planet.
Really?
The best explanation.
How did you come to that conclusion?
The evidence that we have as far as the fossil record in biology, those kinds of things, the genetic similarity.
Did you go dig them up yourself?
No, of course not.
Right. So somebody else did, and you take their word on it, right?
No, they can show that evidence. I can go to a museum and see some of this stuff. I actually have friends that are evolutionary biologists and geologists, so I have seen some of this stuff in the field.
Okay, so
I also studied geology in college.
That's good, but you still didn't go do it all yourself, did you?
A lot of it I did.
Right.
I lived in Colorado. We went and did rock, looking at different rock layers and testing and things like that.
Yeah, I think you're a little bit inconsistent if you accept scientific consensus on certain things, but not historical consensus.
I didn't accept it because it was a consensus. I accepted it because the evidence was convincing.
Okay. So the fact that, would you be a young earth creationist?
Like without that information? I mean, I was a young earth creationist at one time.
Would you be one now?
Would I be one now? Probably not.
Okay. Because why?
Because I don't believe that the earth is 6,000 years old.
Why?
Because many processes that have happened on the earth geologically take longer than 6,000 years.
Okay. How do you know that?
The formation of certain rock structures, things,
and
those things
the assumption,
require pressure and time.
The only assumption that's required to believe that the earth is older than 6,000 years is that natural laws have been consistent. In fact, to assert that natural laws have not been consistent would require the evidence.
But he believes that
good reason to think that wasn't the case. No, I think that's just a fact. Like that natural laws would have to
No,
be different
no.
than they are now in order for things
I'm not
to
listening to
appear the way
an
they look.
individual scientist. So, for example, I don't believe in evolution because of Darwin's book. I don't believe in evolution because of a single evolutionary biologist.
No, you're missing my point.
Or by a scientific study or something
You're
like that.
tossing out. No, what I'm saying is you have a lot of things you believe because there's a consensus in science on it, but you're not ready to have a consensus because of historians. That's just
I never claimed
inconsistent.
a scientific consensus. That was something you claimed on my behalf.
And historians don't have a consensus on the historicity of Jesus for one, and especially there are no eyewitness accounts of Jesus's resurrection.
There's also
You're going to have to support that.
we have a historic consensus
You're going to have
on
to support
Hercules
that
and his
because
life.
there is a consensus. There is a consensus. You're going to have to support the fact there isn't, since
For which claim? There's a historic consensus for what?
you said there wasn't a historic consensus.
For the historicity of Jesus. That's my claim.
Yeah. Okay. What evidence do you have for that claim?
I would need to see evidence. Historians dispute that claim. That's my evidence. There are plenty of historians who don't know that Jesus exists.
There's a lot of people who, young Earth creationists, who also dispute the claims about old Earth.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I'm not sure where we're getting here.
There are plenty of theists who would accept that from a historical, like a historian point of view, that Jesus may not have existed, if indeed.
And that's on top of the divine.
That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't follow logically. It doesn't matter if they would or not.
It's not a consensus that Jesus was divine among
No,
historians.
now you're moving it.
No. So it's not
you
consistent that all these stories happened, that they were true. It's not you're taking the historicity of a writing and claiming that it's true. People agreed that these things were written down. They're not claiming that they were true events. Just like how people study Greek mythology and write that down, and you have historians of Greek mythology. They're not saying that it's true.
What I'm saying are the historical facts.
Which historical fact?
The historicity of Jesus.
That he may have existed.
Are you a mythicist?
No. But I do find the evidence that we have for Jesus's existence is a handful of documents. That's very strange.
A handful of documents.
A handful. You could read the whole of what we know about Jesus in about 5 minutes.
A handful of documents?
Yeah.
Like what? What are you talking? A handful of documents?
Like a few parts of the Gospels, and that's about it. Do you know what he did? Do you know what Jesus did between years 0 and 27?
You obviously have done no research in this area.
Okay, well, what documents am I missing?
How about the 6,000 parchment pieces that we have found all around the Middle East? You just conveniently forget about those?
What do those contain?
The New Testament, parts of the New Testament.
Okay, so that's just a copy of the same document that I already talked about. That's a copy, not an extra
copy
document.
Of what?
If I wrote down something and copied it 3 million times, it doesn't make more information. We know very little about Jesus Christ. We don't know what he did in his youth. We don't know what he did from like birth to 27. We know very little about the guy other than a few sermons.
What does that matter? What does it matter? We don't know what he did as a kid. I'm talking about the resurrection.
Because you talked about all this information about him, and I said all we have is a handful of documents. We don't know much about him.
Oh, that historicity of Jesus is effectively certain.
What does that mean? Historicity of Jesus is effectively certain. That he existed?
That's from Wikipedia. I mean, that's not even a Christian source.
It's not a source at all.
No,
Wikipedia
I'm looking at the source
source
now. I'm looking at the source now.
I'm just saying we know more about other historical, mythical characters.
Oh, do we? Like who?
Like Hercules.
Really? You think
we have
so?
more writings about Hercules?
You think so?
I do.
Okay, show me those.
You can read them. I can send them to you if you like. The 12 Labors of Hercules is a really good read. You're going to make a
claim. You're going to back it up.
Yeah, 12 Labors of Hercules. It details 12 specific labors of Hercules, and it is historically, it's a consensus that the Greek mythicists agree upon it being historically written.
I don't understand what your point is.
The point is that we have very little information about Jesus Christ's actual existence. Therefore, the divinity claim is even harder to believe.
Why?
Because I'm on the fence about him existing. So if I'm going to be on the fence about him existing, then him being divine would be even harder for me to wrap my head around, to be convinced.
What does his divinity got to do with? If he existed, why is there a problem with the divinity?
Because most Christians claim that he's divine, and they've created a religion around it.
Okay, well, I mean, do you think resurrections can't happen?
I have no idea. No, that's never been seen or observed by anybody. So I would say that it's unlikely until proven that it's something in possibility.
Hey, let me step in for just a second, guys. We got
You said that.
we got some cool shit going on in the chat, right? So,
okay. We got questions.
well, just some cool stuff. So let me bring it up. First of all, shout out to Thomas Jump. He's in the chat, Tommy Boy, and Grumpy Old Cuss and Chico with the super chats. Thank you, guys. Oh, and the fella Justin, who apparently has got a doctorate in Pine Creek studies. Thank you for that. And I think I'm going to read that out here in a second.
Well, real quick, if I knew this was going to be some kind of debate on a topic, I would have prepared for a debate. But
you're gonna like what I'm about to say. So I think you're good. I think you might be.
Well,
okay
I mean, this I wasn't told that there was going to be a debate, so I don't.
Hang tight, Eddie. Fast. I'm about to start calling you Fast Eddie over there. Hang on. So, do you know who Tom Jump is? He's an atheist philosophy debater.
Yeah, I know who Tom Jump is.
Well, he's taking your side on this. So he's on Team Eddie at the moment. I'm getting some feedback. So he's lining up over there with Eddie. One of the things he said was that your comments on, the Jesus, I'm a dumb atheist. I'm going to say stuff like the Jesus shit you're talking about. He's saying that the Jesus shit you're talking about is true. Apparently Jeff is in there, over there, but Jeff's got better hair. Apparently, so we're kind of. I'm Team Jeff on that one.
He's definitely funnier.
It's a mixed bag right now. So if you guys want to check the comment section out, guys, we got a little bit of a mixed bag going on. Geo Sam said Jeff's always going to win in his heart. Just FYI. Let's see here. Okay, so Atheist Chico, question for Eddie: can lies as well as truth change the world? Let's see. Same as Spider-Man, Jesus, Flat Earth, and scientific method.
None of those had the impact on the world that Jesus did. I mean, I don't know how somebody could think that.
Thanks.
Well, what about like a religion like Islam with Muhammad?
What about it?
What if, their religion currently is growing at a rate that is going to outpace Christianity here in the next 10 years to make them the number one majority religion, especially if you don't consider Catholics Christians right now, then Muslims are already the majority.
Ooh, I didn't say that.
Well, I said if somebody, there are some people that don't consider Catholics Christians. No, you take Catholics out of the equation, then Islam becomes number one. So if that's the case, then, and Muhammad is a lie, then a lie can become a consensus.
Yeah, I guess it could. Yeah.
Well, hey, look, I'm being forced here. She's been a little pushy. Knev's in the house, everybody. Have you seen Dr. Robert Sapolsky?
I like that guy's restaurant.
Sapolsky's lecture on biological underpinnings of religiosity. Religiosity. Let's say it together.
Shalotsky's.
No, dumbass.
Oh. The sandwich place. It's delicious.
Religiosity.
It's almost as good as
it's a fun word to say, guys. It's a fun word. I don't care.
Religiosity.
Anyway, what's your answer to that?
Round of applause for religiosity.
Me?
Yeah. Apparently, they're all at Eddie.
You're the star of the show. These questions are for you.
Well, there are several people talking. No, I have not seen it.
Okay. Well, she's gonna send you a postcard with this information. So drop your all your personal details, social address, all in this chat.
Right, sweet.
Awesome. Let's see here. What else we got, Ben? Let's see.
There were some talks in there about manuscripts. I don't know if that was for Eddie.
There was one in there that said, Eddie, do you use oil, lubricants, or lotion on your beard?
That's a great question. That's a great question. You guys can read minds too.
It's like a balm.
Let's see.
Bong?
Yeah, that too.
A ball.
Balm. Hair dryer does wonders.
Oh, here it is. This is it right here. Eddie's right that consensus of experts counts as evidence, but the consensus on the resurrection is that it didn't happen. I guess what's your take on that?
Well, that's the on the resurrection happening. What is the consensus? Who's going to make that consensus? I mean, it's an explanatory scope thing. When you take all the facts and put it all together, it is the simplest explanation that has the biggest explanatory scope. It counts all the facts. It takes care of all the facts.
I could offer another explanation that takes care of all the facts.
What's that?
It was made up.
Yeah, that's just stupid. I mean, that's not even.
You guys just can't agree. Can you?
That's
disagree?
that's ridiculous. It was made up.
At years after his death.
Like how long after his death?
Like 90 to 100 years after his death.
Okay.
In the third generation.
My question would be, Eddie.
No, I was going to say.
Sorry, go ahead, Eddie, and then I have.
You need to get out of the skeptic sources and go into the academic sources. It's pretty much agreed. Paul's the oldest ones that we have.
Do you think that Bart Ehrman is a good source?
Something.
He did go to Moody Bible School. He has a doctorate of biblical studies, and he's the head of biblical studies at Chapel Hill.
Yeah, he's a skeptic too, and he's been called out on a few things by other experts. So
who is your source?
Yeah, huh?
Who is your source?
Well, I mean, there's N.T. Wright. I mean, there's all kinds of biblical experts. I mean, I didn't bring a list with me, but there's quite a few of them out there.
So my question just before that was, how did you rule out all other possible natural explanations? How did you determine that a supernatural explanation such as the resurrection was necessary? So I'm not even saying that it had to be made up. For all I know, there's a multitude of different things that could have happened. How did you rule out all of those other possibilities to conclude that this one makes the most sense?
What would be a naturalistic possibility to a dead man rising?
I don't know.
I don't. That's
mass grave, stolen body, aliens.
Yeah, that's ad hoc. Now you're making it less probable every time you do that.
So how did you make yours more probable?
Explanatory scope. It counts for all the facts. See, the problem is, here's the deal. People don't like to hear resurrections. All right, so you have a presupposition. You're not open and objective to if God did exist. Could he raise somebody from the dead?
Are you saying because it has explanatory power, it's more likely?
Given there's a God, yes.
Okay.
Does that same explanatory?
Given that there's a God.
Yeah, God's a big part of it.
Does that same explanatory power work for Lazarus?
I mean, I don't have any reason to doubt it.
It was the same God.
Right. Yeah. I mean, what's wrong with that?
No, I was just checking to see if you were biased on any kind of resurrection.
What about Horus, the Egyptian god that rose from the dead hundreds of years before God, or before Jesus?
I'd have to look at it.
He rose from the dead 3 days later.
Yeah.
We also don't have his body. There's an empty tomb.
Cool. I mean, I don't know what bearing that has, but.
Well, what other explanation would you have?
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to look into. I haven't looked into it seriously.
You can't think of another explanation?
How can I have an explanation if I haven't looked into it?
Well, you can think about what I just told you.
Okay.
We have Horus, an Egyptian god, who claimed to rise from the dead 3 days later.
Okay.
Did we just assume that he rose from the dead?
I don't assume anything. No.
So then you must have a compelling reason that he didn't rise from the dead.
I don't know anything about him. That's the point. I can't make a judgment on something I don't know anything about.
I think
No, yeah, I
think the story of Jesus was stolen.
At first hand, I would
Horus,
say he probably
Egyptian
didn't.
Are you guys just talking over each other? Because I'll electrocute both of you right now.
At first hand, I'd probably say
shut
he
up.
didn't.
Okay, Eddie. Question for Eddie. What is an atheist?
Oh my God. It depends on who you talk to.
Well, you. I'm talking to you. Like, what's your definition?
Man, I know some that say they just lack belief. I know some that's strong atheists and say they believe a God doesn't exist. I know people call themselves agnostic atheists. I really don't. I mean, I have a whole myriad of friends that use different definitions. So
no problem. Let's talk about it for a moment.
All
so let's just hypothetically say that you're not a Christian and you're kind of on the fence. I believe you said to Oz earlier that you were agnostic at one time.
Yes.
Okay. So how would you put yourself, if you were going to define yourself as an atheist, what would your definition be for yourself?
To me, an atheist would be one who does not believe in God or believes there is no God.
I think that's what it says in the Webster's. All gods, I believe. I think it hasn't. Like
Webster says a lack of belief of any God.
Well, here's the thing. You're asking me, and when I see atheist, there's the claim that God exists or God doesn't exist. A theist believes that God exists.
Mm-hmm.
So the counter to that would be God doesn't exist. So, but I know a lot of people don't like that. They like to lack belief, which is really
the easiest way to go through it is just without going into percentages and stuff. Do you believe in a God or gods? Just yes or no?
Yes, I do.
Okay, well, I don't. How sure are you that a God exists?
Do you know a God exists?
Thank you, Jeff.
That's the correct question.
Jeff's my like co-host.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident.
So then you would be a Gnostic theist.
Thanks again, Jeff. I appreciate it. Was like Jeff just wasn't on for like half an hour. Yeah. So you'd be like an agnostic. So in the theistic end, though, so you do believe that there's a God, but you can't say you know him personally and you chat with him and have coffee and things.
Well, I mean, I pray and things like that, but I mean, I don't hear audible voices or anything like that. No.
Have you ever had an experience with him?
What I believe was an experience, yes.
Have you had prayers answered?
Either that or a whole bunch of coincidences.
How could you differentiate between coincidence and prayer being answered?
I mean, why would I need to? That's not the purpose of prayer.
What is the purpose of prayer?
Most of the time, I mean, prayer is more for, it's kind of like counseling, getting it off your chest, realizing, just when you talk to God, it's like a counselor. I mean, God is omnipotent. He knows what I'm going to ask for or not ask for. So if it was going to be an answered prayer, I mean, I've had crazy stuff happen before, but I don't know if it's an answered prayer or not. I don't make claims like that. I just, like I said, I haven't felt God in, a long time. So
is it fair to say that it's comforting to pray?
Oh yeah. Well, sometimes it's not, but yeah, for the most part.
Sure. What other things can be done that could achieve a similar result, or if not the same, that you can't really differentiate between the two?
Meditation.
Sure. I hear that. I actually hear that a lot. I don't meditate or pray, but I do hear people say
you're missing out, man. You need to meditate.
Meditate nightly.
Really?
Yes.
Honestly, is it a good thing?
Yes. Absolutely.
100%.
No,
especially if you do a little DMT beforehand.
If you can get deep into meditation that feels like a spiritual experience, it's some serious stuff.
Now, for somebody that's never been religious, what would be your best advice to me to become a believer in God? How can I believe in God if I simply don't? And the Bible didn't do it for me.
Well, that's not my deal, man. I'm not an evangelist. I tell people to seek truth, share love. You know, um, I tell people that if they ask me about who I believe and why I believe, I'll tell them. But I don't go around evangelizing. We're not supposed to do that.
Sure. Now, that analogy that Jeff was attempting earlier about the extraordinary thing that he may have. Now, let's say he did have something crazy like a spaceship.
Mm-hmm.
What difference would it be for him to try and demonstrate that he has that to me versus a person demonstrating that a God exists? How could I learn that this thing is true from somebody? Like, because I haven't been able to find it yet. So if somebody does believe and they already have that understanding, be it a spaceship that they may have, they could maybe prove that to me, or a God that they believe in. How can I learn that?
I don't know. I guess I could show it to you.
So how would that be done in the sense of a God?
Well, but that's, yeah, I mean, you're not you can't show God to somebody. It's just categorically different.
So how do people get to learn of the God that they choose to believe in?
Well, you do your research, you read, you investigate the claims. I mean, if you don't feel like God exists, and I don't expect anybody to, that people are all different. We're all wired different. Some people don't care if there's a God. Some do. If you do, I would say you need to research all the major God claims, all the major religions, and see which one you find the most convincing, which is exactly what I did.
Sure. Well, I'm an atheist because I simply do not believe any religious text or book or any claim of any gods or deities. That's why I'm an atheist. I'm agnostic because I do not know. I'm not smart enough to understand. That's basically it.
Okay. That's respectable.
What about you, Oz?
I'm in the same camp as far as breaking down the definition of atheism and how we kind of part it out or split it out. And unfortunately, the more we dig into it, we have to be more descriptive on that. It used to be we could just say, well, I'm an atheist and lack belief. But now, because of probably some of the fundamentalism, to be honest with you, Eddie, we've had to say we lack the evidence to believe in a God, but we also don't know. Like Pasta said, I'm not smart enough. I wasn't here in the beginning of all this shit to know what started it, what did it. Maybe it was a God. I just don't have the evidence to support that claim.
That's what I was talking about, the psychological part of it earlier. I mean, it's got a lot to do with psychology.
Yeah, man. Well, hey, look, I've enjoyed this chat. We're at the hour and 43 minutes. I've got some atheist pizza burning, apparently. My smoke detector's going off. Yeah. But hey, Eddie, we really appreciate you coming on. I wanted to drop some. Yeah, man. Before you get the floor, I wanted to drop some info. Look, on December the 11th, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we got Mike Brigandy. Big account on TikTok, if you're not following Mike. He's coming on to debate not one, but two Calvinists. So we got Jonas Sala. What's that? Oh, Calvinist? Yeah.
Yeah.
Eddie, you want to come on and moderate this debate?
Man, I've had my share of Calvinists. I'm good.
Well, do you want to moderate the debate? Do you want to be a mod?
What? I don't know if I could do it calmly.
There's a Calvinist behind him right now.
Stop
that brick
You're
wall.
scaring me, Jeff.
Oh. Well, anyway, December 11th, there'll be a stream up. There'll be a stream up. So if you guys want to tune in at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Mike Brigandy, it's like what's it called, a handicap match?
Yep.
Yeah. And then, by the way, I tried to get just Jeff and Ben as a stand-in, and Mike said, nope, I just want to do this by myself. Yeah, man. So, well, you guys chop it up, and then we'll cut away here in a moment. So appreciate you coming on, and plug what you need to plug, man.
I don't have anything to plug.
Oh, Eddie, Eddie, you at least have that TikTok account that's popping off. At least share with the folks what you're doing there.
Yeah, I'm on TikTok. I'm just hanging out with the heathens and going after anybody that acts like an asshole. So Eddie Crewmed, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, he does a great job on there. But no, and obviously these conversations can always be fun and fluid. Sometimes they get heated and passionate, but at the end of the day, Eddie, thanks for jumping on with us. We appreciate it. Problem, but how was your first experience with the Atheist Roundtable? How do you feel, man?
Oh, it's great, man. Definitely. Any challenges? I mean, that's I'm all for it. That's what I live for.
The Atheist Roundtable.
Yeah, he says it way better.
Hey, don't forget to check out the Atheist Troll Live. That's just Jeff's channel over there on YouTube. Ben GSE. He's got his own YouTube channel as well. Go show Ben some love, man. He does read Socrates. It's almost like that stuff you can put on to get a little cat nap in. But he's a good-looking guy, and he fucking crushes in the conversations. Soon, when this shit goes away, Ben will be going out to hit the streets to actually chat with folks, just like Mr. Magnabosco. Just Jeff might join him. Who knows? He might scare some folks away. But please, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the channel tonight. At Tart, the Atheist Roundtable. And drop in hashtag UFC if you want to join the stream in January. Oz and I will be putting on a stream for the Conor McGregor fight, and you guys can join for free. Anybody up for that? Just chilling, smoking it up with some whiskey and some cigars. Yeah. Reading some scripture. Reading some of that scripture from which book, Jeff?
The one about Horus.
The one about Horus.
Horus is fantastic. It's a great story.
And big shout out to
Christmas, by the way.
Big shout out to everybody in the chat. All the Blue Wrench is holding it down tonight. Thank you so much. Everybody that dropped a super chat. And everybody that was commenting strangely. Yeah, Eddie's got stupid arguments, but he's a really nice guy. I like this guy. No, we're not used to that. A lot of atheists he's got poorly articulated critical thinking, but he's kind of nice, though. He's a nice guy. I kind of like him.
Hey, this is my second podcast ever.
Well, dude, you're welcome back.
And I didn't know that Jeff was going to come off the top rope.
Well, it's kind of my fault, so I apologize.
It's all good.
Yeah, Jeff's a sweet guy, really.
Oh yeah, I like Jeff. I've seen the sweet side of him.
He is a real sweet guy. And by the way, he's all about the cause. He's just like you, man.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I've seen a lot of what he does. He's a pretty cool guy.
It's that between you and I, I've disabled the ability for Oz to hear. So in fact, it's only you and I here now, Eddie. Oz is the asshole. Just between you and I.
He seems pretty cool too.
You can't hear this. Oh, God damn it! God damn it, Oz.
Yeah, I'm here.
What are you doing, Oz? I thought you were going out to bed, man.
No, I was here while you're talking shit. So Eddie, whatever he said, just forget about it.
He said you were his favorite.
No, I heard what he said. Now you're a liar. So now I know you're going to tell.
Oh.
Thank you again for joining the Atheist Roundtable. Just Jeff, get your pants off, buddy. About to go into the agnostic hot tub. Ooh, trolley.
I think I'm gonna stay here.
Ooh, it's all curly.
Oh, man. Oh.
And if you haven't already, check out the Atheist Roundtable live call-in show. That'll be next. That's going to be the next stream. That's Oz and Just Jeff taking calls. 706-236-7608. And that's it. We're out.
Bye.